All right, let's go back. He's the Carlos to my Vives. I'm just saying stupid things now. I don't know why.
Yeah, let's see how far you can get with your analysis. I'm curious. One day you will run out.
I'm going to completely run out. All right, let's do this. We don't have a whole lot of time because we have to change the whole clock around for the show, but we do have time for the sound off.
Yes.
You tee him up, and I'll knock him down. Let's go.
Yep, let's do it.
Hi, this is Ian from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I just had a quick question.
Why are you whispering like a weirdo?
Just wondering if you think that is Conor McGregor actually good for the sport of MMA, big picture-wise? All things considered. I'm just curious what you think about that.
Is that a serious question? I mean, okay. Why? Am I not understanding the question there? I don't mean to be mean to the listeners. I always appreciate the calls. 844-866-2468, as always. He's good at everything. He's not perfect at everything. He's better at some things than other. But, you know, people got mad at Dana. Dana was kind of dancing around the question. Someone asked him who's the best fighter ever. Well, the best fighter I've ever seen is John Jones. But the complete package, how could you not argue it's Conor McGregor, even with the bus throwing incident?
Yeah, I would have to agree, and his story's still not written yet.
Sure.
We'll see what happens in the future. But yeah, I mean, he brought MMA to a different stage. The UFC, I mean, he's done so many things. So even the bus incident aside and a few hiccups he's had here and there, overall, in the big picture, it hasn't really translated into getting a real black eye.
Like that.
Sport.
Yes.
Of MMA.
Here's the truth. If you want to say St. Pierre, I could entertain the argument. Obviously, he did big business, not quite as big as Conor, but he has a squeaky clean record because that's the kind of guy he is. I can entertain that. The issue is not whether Conor is talented at all those things. The question is, given that he is so talented, where does he rank among the all-time best if the total package is included? If you don't want to put him one, fine, but he's at worst, what, 5 or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. All right, let's keep it going.
What's going on, Luke and Danny? This is Mike in Pennsylvania. I just wanted to pick your brain about the presser from the UFC 229 event. Was curious how you both felt about Conor, of course, doing his research about everything about Khabib, but just curious what your reaction was to him bringing up Khabib's links to Nurmagomedov and, of course, to Ramzan Kadyrov. It seemed to be that Khabib was paying extra close attention when Conor was talking about all those links. And then when he called out Ali Abdelaziz at the end, I just found that incredibly interesting. Just curious as to how you both felt about that. It feels though we haven't necessarily had that kind of call out in MMA, or at least recently. Just curious how you guys felt about Conor bringing all that up. Catch you later, guys.
I had a bunch of different feelings about it, Danny. On the one hand, I felt like it was incredible that a guy would go to those kinds of details to undercut a rival. I thought that some of it I thought was a little unfair. Some of it. I'll explain why a little bit later when we have Kareem on. I thought, here's what I thought. If you just go after Khabib with, oh, you didn't get off the bus, you shit on the bus, you know, you're a coward, you can't fight, or you die for ankles, you won't affect him at all. It won't have any effect. However, if you start going after his life associations, particularly those close to him, I think he will be more affected by that, and that's why he's doing it. Because frankly, and I'm going to bring this up with Kareem a little bit later, you know, Conor took a picture with Vladimir Putin. It's not like his record is squeaky clean either, but that never got mentioned because I think defensively, Khabib found himself on the back foot a little bit there.
Yeah, it was super interesting. I knew Conor McGregor always does his homework when he goes to a press conference. We saw that against Floyd Mayweather. He had a lot of things up his sleeve. But man, he went in great detail with Khabib, and it was sort of interesting to watch because it did get some sort of certain emotion out of Khabib, or at least for him to like acknowledge.
Yep.
And I mean, it riled up his manager. Ali was pissed, and you know he wanted to get in there too. So he does his homework, and he knows what he's doing. He might have crossed some boundaries. Maybe.
Of course he crossed boundaries.
But
intentionally.
Yes. And I know Dana gets a lot of criticism for saying like, oh, you know, Conor McGregor is better than Ali at the mental warfare.
Yeah.
And maybe. I mean,
Yeah, I made this point before, and people got bitter at me for it, but it's the reality. Look, Ali is such a historically important figure.
Yes.
He was popular when it was harder to become popular, and he was part of the world, at least in the United States of America, at a time where the society was fracturing, and he was right along the fault lines on some of the most important battles this country has had internally, and was an avatar for a lot of some of the most important and difficult issues America's had to work through. Conor just isn't that guy. He's just not.
He's not.
But when it comes to the gift of gab, and I know people are like, well, he was also making noises like, okay, that stuff was a little, I mean, it was juvenile, but I didn't care about it. But the stuff when he talks, like there were so many other things he did, I was just like, he's a nightmare for anyone to handle, you know?
Yeah. All right, shall we move on?
Yeah.
So this is from someone who took a different approach at digesting Conor McGregor's comments at the press conference.
All right.
Hey, Luke, this is Brian Siskind calling from Nashville, Tennessee. So I can appreciate the points that you made around Conor's PR and verbal skills, and I totally get that here. But for me, only to an extent. I feel like this presser, to me, felt like two other pressers that come to mind and stood out where champions were a little over the top in their sort of, their bravado and digging a little too hard to stir bad blood. It reminded me of the Rousey home presser and also the Joanna Rose first presser that they had. Am I the only one who gets a sense here that McGregor has lost his edge actually a little bit? It doesn't seem as authentic as he has been in the past. And of course, I readily concede that he's the best, we're one of the best in terms of PR and returning to the message and talking over people. But I thought this one was a little bit like sort of off the rails, and I kind of felt like he lost his touch and he was having to try a little bit harder than he normally has, and it didn't seem as authentic. So just wondering if you had any thoughts like that. I feel like everybody's talking about how great it was and how great he was.
All right. I get it. It's a good question. He's just going on there at the end.
Yes.
So I'm actually really glad you brought this up because I got a ton of pushback for my assessment of him. And I noticed everyone else did too. Our guys, I think Mark Ramundi and some other folks reacted to it, and there was pushback. Shouts to my guy, the true Geordie across the pond. He had a similar reaction to me, and people pushed back against it. There is absolutely, Danny, a cadre of fans out there, a not insignificant one, that thought he was off the rails, that he went way too far, that if showed anything, it showed, yes, he's got some rhetorical gifts, but it showed some weakness. I can understand that perspective, and I certainly cannot rule it out. I think a couple things have to be mentioned here. Number one, the lack of an audience, I think really just forced Conor to ratchet it up a little bit. Number two, Khabib is stone-faced. It's hard to get under his skin. You do have to go to the lengths of the earth to find something. So I think that also enabled it. But look, man, I mean, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to say that Conor McGregor recognizes that he's in the fight of his life? Because I think he recognizes he's in the freaking fight of his life. He has not fought MMA in 2 years. He fought a boxing fight 1 year ago, which probably won't help him very much, substantively anyway, in this contest. He's got a guy from a part of the world where they eat glass for breakfast, who is undefeated, who has just the skill set to give him problems. There was no audience there. He's trying to launch a whiskey line at the same time. Yeah, he probably felt it, man. He probably felt it. So for me, I can understand that perspective, but I guess it's one of those Rorschach tests. Did you see a guy panicking, or did you see a guy, yes, maybe going to, 11 or 12 on a dial of 10, but was still basically who you thought he was? I tend to lean towards the latter because I really want to stay out of these, well, who won the press conference? That's a proxy battle for the fight. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah, and it's also Conor McGregor is always evolving, and not only with this fight game, but also the way he carries himself. If you look at the very first press conference he had in the UFC, is much different from all the others. And sure, there's still obviously some personality of Conor McGregor within all that media that he's done, but he's changed over time. So I think this is just part of the evolution. We see someone that's a lot more successful than when they made their UFC debut, has a lot more money, a lot more attention, right? So you are going to see everything get stepped up a notch. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I just want to give shouts to people out there who they had a totally different perspective on it. They thought Conor was, yes, he was on the front foot, but only because mentally he was on the back foot. I get that. I recognize that. I think there's evidence for that claim. But on the one hand, it's like, what would you expect him to be? Like treating this nonchalantly? This is for sure. This is why I don't understand about some Conor fans. They're like, oh, Khabib is totally untested. Look at his record. He's fought no one. Well, well, then why are the odds so close? Why are you worried? Right? You want to say the opposite. You want to say this is the fight of his freaking life. If for no other reason that he's been off for 2 years, because when he wins, if he wins, all the fans will be able to say, yo, that guy is the shit. Yeah. Not, well, he beat a nobody. No. Khabib is easily the toughest fighter he's ever had. That doesn't mean McGregor will win or lose. I don't know what it means. All I'm saying is it's just this, to have that kind of confidence would be a much bigger red flag than feeling it and trying to react to it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So now let's go on to the music choices for that press conferences.
All right.
Hey, Luke, this is Shabin Olson from Raleigh, North Carolina. Two-part question. One, with the UFC now using Drowning Pool's Bodies as the theme song for the press conference, what does it say about their opinion of their fans that have already gotten past puberty? Second part of the question. If they have, they want to have this badass image, why haven't they hired anyone in their marketing department who listened to metal after the age of 15? Thank you.
Wait. First of all, great question. Shouts to Raleigh. Yes. Shouts to everybody in North Carolina struggling with the hurricane. Is that true? They played "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor"?
I believe so. I saw a lot of comments about that. I was actually in Times Square for the press conference.
So you saw it on the big Megazilla?
Yes, and believe it or not, they had no audio for it. It's a press conference.
They had no audio?
No audio for it. And then like way later down the line, after like 50% of the people had already left, they decided to put on subtitles, and they didn't even match what they were saying. They were like delayed. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest.
That's a disaster.
Yep.
Well, it won't. I mean, people are still going to watch the fight, but
yeah, I mean, people were still wondering. Like, people would ask me, like, "Oh, what is that? What's going on?" Because there's still two guys arguing, right? In the big ass screen,
liquor and everything.
Yeah.
By the way, did you not look for a proper 12 over the weekend?
Oh, I did.
So I did too. I could not find it. I couldn't find it. So when we get some, we're going to try some on the air here.
Sure.
All right. In any case,
in purpose of journalism, right?
In any case, here's the thing. It's like, how is this still a thing? Right? Do you know anybody that listens to Drowning Pool at the Bodies Hit the Floor? Do you know anybody that does that?
No, and I'm glad I don't.
I mean, I didn't listen to it when that was like a new song, much less a dated song. I don't know what to tell you, man. I've been fighting this fight uphill. I have been pissing into the wind about their music for I don't know how long. It's like I'm going to a Dying Fetus concert at the Gramercy Theater in less than a month. You're not going to tell me I don't love metal. I love metal. I love metal a lot. But if you love metal, how is it you ended up on the ass end of metal that no one can reasonably defend other than it has recognizable power chords for people who read at a 5th grade level? Like, I don't understand what the issue is here. I mean, we are one step away from just being unwitting juggalos by being, subject to this punishment by this music. If they need some metal recommendations, boy, it's not hard, dude. It's super not hard to come up with some.
Yeah. I mean, even just, put in some hip hop in there, change it up, right? Like, who the hell listens to Bodies? Like, does anyone even have that on their Apple Music list or Spotify? Like, it's just amazing at the choices that the UFC makes for the music.
It's one thing about is it bad or is it good, right? And that's a debate that in some ways is hard to have because it's so subjective.
Right.
But there's no arguing about the datedness of it. These are not timeless Led Zeppelin classics, man. This is not When the Levee Breaks or something, or Let It Be, or whatever, man. This is Octopus's Garden at best, and not even that. I really don't get it, dude. I have fought this fight, and you're not going to win this argument based on merit because merit wins it easily, and it never works. So,
and in a way, it has like this. It brings this image of like cage fighting,
yes.
It's just. I think we're past that. It's 2018. Like, it's not 2009.
Anymore. We make fun of juggalos. We are juggalos. We just didn't sign up for it.
All right, let's move on.
You know what a juggalo is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right.
Let's talk about UFC 230, which there's still tons of questions around it, even though we learned more information about it, right?
Yep.
Hi, Luke. This is Gabriel from California. I think I called maybe 5 minutes ago. I actually wanted to get yours and Danny's thoughts on the main event for UFC 230. It hasn't been announced. The press conference, people thought maybe that we get an announcement there. Dana says that John Jones isn't fighting Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 230. But then again, when Dana has usually said that, it's usually been the complete opposite. So I just wanted to know what you guys thought would be a good main event for UFC 230. I know Dustin Poirier said him versus Nate for the 165-pound belt, but Dana has said that there hasn't been any talks of bringing a 165-pound division. So
I'm going to cut it right there. So basically, what the hell's going on with the main event of UFC 230? So we learned that Tyron Woodley's going to undergo hand surgery and will be out for 8 to 12 weeks.
So you can't do the Covington fight.
So you can't do that
or
fight.
Or the GSP fight for that matter.
Exactly. And apparently Dana's saying that Jones is not in the mix for that.
I don't know. Why is Jones not in the mix for that?
Yeah. Hey, didn't I call this a while ago? Everybody's like, oh, the main event for UFC 230 is going to get announced at that UFC 230
I thought
press
for
conference.
sure it would.
I don't know. I didn't think so.
Why?
I don't know. I just had a feeling. And it's just like everything's so centered around Khabib and, Conor. I didn't think they would throw anything in there. I mean, look at like Pettis and Tony Ferguson is on that card as well. Has it ever got mentioned up? Nothing.
Well, they don't need to sell that part. I mean,
sure.
It doesn't make sense to focus on it, even though I know that might hurt the feelings of certain people. I understand, but it just realistically, you have a certain amount of dollars. They should go to the main event.
That's true. But I mean, we're 6 weeks away. What's up with the UFC?
I thought for sure. Here's the thing. Here's one thought I had. I was like, well, John will be available to do it, but they don't want to do it because they want to save face, right? Oh, it would look so bad if right after he got suspended or the suspension ended, he would be on there. But I'm like, if you're just going to end it at 15 months, who gives a shit? Just put him on there. Like, what's the better one? And I got to tell you, man, how do you think those other people on the card feel that they're going to be going to Madison Square Garden and they don't even know who's going to be at the top of it? I bet you that there are some hard feelings about that down the line. That's just a guess, but I can't imagine that Poirier and Diaz just love the fact that they don't know, or maybe they're fighting at 165, or maybe they're not. Maybe it's for a title, maybe it's not. Maybe it'll be, it was going to be Colby Covington, maybe. Now it's not. Here's my own, I don't know who else you can do at this point, honestly, except TJ versus Henry Cejudo, which is a fine main event, I suppose, but this late promoted, and it's a fine fight. I'm not going to bag on it, but I don't know. It just feels lacking in a way.
It just feels, cobbled together.
Right.
It feels like
it's a fine fight on its own, but the way in which it's being packaged,
it just feels like, here, this is what you got. Take it. It feels rushed. And the worst part about it is that this card is getting so much negativity. But if you actually look at it, it's a fantastic card. Maybe the best card of the year.
Tell folks.
I mean, we got Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman, Jacare Souza versus David Branch, Derek Brunson versus Israel Adesanya, and the list goes on. Fantastic card.
Yeah, it really is. And people keep asking, and I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Let's fire in one more if we can.
Cool. So I'm going to give you one more, and I'm going to get the guest. Okay. So this is all yours, all right?
Hey, Danny, Luke. My name is Anthony. I'm calling out of Northwest Nevada. Just had a quick question regarding Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. Just kind of wondering where you guys both stand on that fight. Who do you guys think is going to win, and so on? Do you think that his output, that Diaz output, and the pressure that he puts on people, do you think that's going to stifle Poirier and maybe finish him or get a decision, or do you think Poirier has the punching power and the determination to stop Diaz? We know how durable the Diaz brothers are. So I'm just kind of wondering where you guys stand on that. Appreciate it.
Great question. Apparently, I've always been mispronouncing Nevada. I've been calling it Nevada, and they get real bitter. Apparently, it's Nevada. So shouts to everyone in Nevada. I love this fight. I love this fight a lot. It made a lot of sense for me that when Diaz came back for it, because Poirier is the more active, obviously, and I would argue probably better all-around talent. But the specific area where he excels, the two areas I would argue, are also where Nate Diaz excels. And then they have sort of different concentrations of skill. They have different body types, which creates for different particular attacks. And I just feel like it is going to be a very, very close fight. It wouldn't surprise me if the time off maybe hurt Diaz a little bit. But I don't know. I kind of doubt that. I actually think it's a bit of a coin toss, to be totally honest with you, because I can see Poirier, if he really manages all the phases of the game and does a bit of what Rory McDonald did, which kind of make it a wrestling contest, kind of throw him around, stay out of trouble, don't stay in his range. You can do a lot with that. On the other hand, if Diaz is able to put the game where he's really good at, which is also, by the way, kind of in that boxing range where Poirier is really good at, it's a bit of a pick'em fight because then they're just going to be slugging it out, and then we know Diaz has a good chin, and he'll pour it on. It's a 3-round fight, but both guys are capable of fighting 5. Like, there are so many reasons to like it. This is one of those fights where it's like, I don't want to put a title on just to make a title, but if there's any way to make that fight 5 rounds, that would be nice.